convened for a highly anticipated hearing. At the center of it all, Kimberly Cheatle, the director of the Secret Service. The subject, a series of security failures at a recent Trump rally. Failures so egregious that they sent shockwaves through the nation. Lawmakers demanded answers. This wasn't just about one event. It was about the safety of future events. It was about the integrity of the Secret Service itself. Director Cheatle, a seasoned professional with years of experience, found herself in the hot seat. The committee, led by Chairman James Comer and Ranking Member Jamie Raskin, pressed her for details. They wanted to know how such glaring security lapses could have occurred. And more importantly, they wanted assurances that steps were being taken to prevent such failures from happening again. The hearing was broadcast live, captivating the nation. Americans watched intently, eager to hear how the Secret Service would account for what transpired. This wasn't just another political drama unfolding in the halls of Congress. It was about the safety and security of the very heart of American democracy. The questions came rapid fire, each one aimed at uncovering the truth behind the security breakdowns. Director Cheatle, however, seemed to falter. Her responses were often vague, lacking the clarity and decisiveness that the situation demanded. The committee pressed Director Cheatle on these specific security protocols in place at the Trump rally. They wanted to know about staffing levels, intelligence gathering, and communication procedures. Her answers, however, left them wanting more. She spoke in generalities, avoiding direct responses that could shed light on the extent of the failures. Frustration mounted among the committee members. They grew increasingly impatient with Director Cheatle's evasiveness. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known for her sharp questioning, didn't mince words.
The American people deserve transparency. They deserve to know that their safety and security is being taken seriously.
The hearing was supposed to provide answers, to reassure the public that the Secret Service had a handle on the situation. Instead, it was raising more questions than it answered. The lack of transparency from Director Cheatle only fueled speculation and eroded public trust in the very agency she was tasked with leading.
This isn't a time for dodging questions. This is a time for accountability.
His words reflected the sentiment of many in the room, both Democrats and Republicans alike. Director Cheatle's inability to provide satisfactory answers to critical questions left a void in the hearing room. The committee wanted to know how a potential security threat at the rally went undetected. They pressed for details about the intelligence gathered prior to the event and how it was analyzed. However, Director Cheatle remained tight-lipped, citing ongoing investigations and security concerns. One of the most glaring omissions was Director Cheatle's silence on the communication breakdowns that occurred during the rally. Reports emerged of miscommunication and coordination failures among the Secret Service agents on the ground. The committee pressed for details about these breakdowns and the steps being taken to address them. Yet, Cheatle's responses remained vague and non-committal, leaving many with the impression that she was more interested in protecting the agency's image than in providing real answers.
The American people deserve to know that their safety is not being compromised by incompetence or negligence.
The lack of transparency from Director Cheatle only fueled the perception that the Secret Service was more interested in sweeping its failures under the rug than in addressing them head-on. The unanswered questions hung heavy in the air, casting a long shadow over the Secret Service's reputation. The agency, once revered for its unwavering commitment to protecting the nation's leaders, was now facing a crisis of confidence. The public was left to wonder if the Secret Service couldn't even secure a political rally. How could it be trusted to protect the nation from more serious threats? Section 4. A united front calls for resignation resound. The gravity of the situation was not lost on the committee members. As the hearing progressed, it became increasingly clear that Director Cheatle's evasiveness had damaged the Secret Service's credibility. Calls for her resignation began to surface, and they weren't limited to one side of the aisle.
Director Cheatle's lack of transparency is unacceptable. She has lost the trust of this committee, and more importantly, the trust of the American people.
His words carried weight, signaling a shift in the Republican Party's stance on the Secret Service's handling of the situation.
The Secret Service has a long and storied history of protecting our nation's leaders. However, recent events have tarnished that reputation. Director Cheatle's resignation is necessary to restore public trust in this vital agency.
The bipartisan calls for her removal sent a clear message. The security failures at the Trump rally were not a partisan issue. They were an American issue. Even some of Director Cheatle's staunchest defenders within the agency began to distance themselves. The calls for her resignation were not solely about accountability for the past. They were also about ensuring the future effectiveness of the Secret Service. A change in leadership, many argued, was necessary to restore morale and rebuild the agency's shattered reputation. Section 5. Erosion of trust. The the Secret Service under fire. The security failures at the Trump rally and the subsequent hearing had far-reaching implications. They shook the public's faith in the Secret Service's ability to protect not only the nation's leaders, but also the democratic process itself. The images of chaos and the reports of communication breakdowns painted a disturbing picture of an agency ill-prepared for the challenges it faced.
The Secret Service has long been shrouded in an aura of secrecy, its inner workings hidden from public view. This opaqueness, once seen as a necessary aspect of its protective mission, now fueled suspicion and distrust. The agency's reluctance to provide clear and detailed answers about the rally failures only deepened the perception that it was more interested in self-preservation than in accountability.
The erosion of public trust in the Secret Service had the potential to undermine its effectiveness in the future. The agency relies heavily on public cooperation and support to carry out its mission. When that trust is broken, it becomes harder for the Secret Service to gather intelligence, recruit qualified personnel, and maintain the public's confidence in its ability to protect. The situation also raised concerns about the politicization of the Secret Service. Some critics argued that the agency's close ties to the Trump administration had compromised its judgment and led to a relaxation of security protocols. While these claims remained unsubstantiated, they highlighted the need for the Secret Service to maintain its independence and apolitical nature. Section 6. The Path Forward, Accountability and Action. The House Oversight Committee hearing marked a turning point for the Secret Service. It brought to light systemic failures and a culture of secrecy that could no longer be ignored. The calls for Director Cheatle's resignation were just the first step in a long and arduous process of reform and rebuilding. The committee vowed to continue its investigation into the security failures at the Trump rally. They plan to call additional witnesses, review internal Secret Service documents, and issue a comprehensive report with recommendations for reform. The goal was not to punish individuals, but to identify systemic weaknesses and implement changes to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Accountability was paramount. Those responsible for the security lapses, regardless of their rank or political affiliation, needed to be held accountable for their actions. This could involve disciplinary measures, changes in leadership, or even criminal charges, depending on the findings of the investigation. Beyond accountability, the Secret Service needed to take concrete steps to restore public trust. This included embracing transparency, improving communication, and strengthening its internal oversight mechanisms. The agency needed to demonstrate that it had learned from its mistakes and was committed to regaining the public's confidence. The road ahead for the Secret Service would be challenging. However, by acknowledging its failures, embracing accountability, and implementing meaningful reforms, the agency could begin to rebuild its reputation and ensure the safety and security of the nation's leaders and democratic institutions.